You must have seen this news this morning. I've got to get your take on this. Dean, you've been around the fight game forever. You can't stay in your prime, right? And we're not talking about somebody in their prime. I'm talking about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is 58 years old, taking on Jake Paul. I've come out and I did a couple of tweets on it. You know what I mean? People think I'm being a hater. People think I'm being jealous. You know, as we know, Jake Paul's doing his thing. What the hell?
This matchup? This is not doing your thing. This is absolutely ridiculous, and I couldn't be more upset by this because now this is just taking it too far. I get it, man. Okay, you want to fight a couple guys in their early 40s and still think they got it, but you're going to be fighting a man that's almost 60 years old. And the problem with that is that I talked to some guys today who don't really know a lot about fighting, and they really were like, "Oh man, Jake Paul's going to get beat up by Mike Tyson," and I was like, he's almost 60 years old. So the fact that there are people that believe that this can be competitive or that Mike Tyson's going to win this, I was like, man, you're crazy. He's almost 60 years old. And Jake Paul ought to be ashamed of himself for doing this. He ought to be ashamed of himself for calling out Mike Tyson to try to fight the legacy and the history of what Mike Tyson has done. That's embarrassing.
That's exactly what I said on Twitter this morning to him directly. I said, you should be ashamed of yourself because what does he gain out of this? What is he going to do? Is he going to go out there and legitimately try to knock out Mike Tyson? Because if you do that and you're successful when a man that's almost 60 years old, that's just disgraceful if you ask me. And then it'd be amazing to see, but it's highly unlikely because Mike Tyson's probably got one round in him if possible. Right. And the power's the last thing to go. If Tyson was successful and managed to find that shot, I mean, that'd be incredible. But what does he think he's achieving?
I have no idea. I mean, think about when we saw Evander Holyfield and Vitor Belfort. I mean, it wasn't even competitive. And you have to take into account, I mean, I'm 47 right now. And I can't fight nobody. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't imagine. At 47, I couldn't imagine fighting a 25-year-old. I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's doing this and calling him out after all he said about the fight game and helping fighters and all this, I want to help fighters make money, blah, 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 blah. This is his way of giving back to the game and putting boxing on the map, calling out Mike Tyson. Come on, man. If you want to help Mike Tyson, allow him to be the special guest referee.
Yeah, 100%. And the way that he did it as well, he put on Twitter this morning, there's a video of him and Rafael Caldera hitting pads. And he said, one of my promoters or whatever sent me this 2 weeks ago and said that Mike Tyson is interested. And when I look at this, I'm like, yeah, this really excites me. Heavyweight, let's do it. I'm like, dude, how stupid do you think the buying public is? Do you really think people are buying this? Listen, fair play to Mike. Go out there, do your thing. I hope he makes a shit ton of money. More importantly, I hope that he's okay. But at what point, as a man, do you allow this to happen when you're in your prime?
All right, so the biggest news probably over the weekend was Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson being announced for July 20th
makes no sense.
On Netflix. I think Netflix is probably like the first ever live streaming
Netflix
sport.
into sports.
Yeah.
So this is big because this is our canary in the coal mine. If you're, again, however you feel about Jake Paul, I love the guy, but however you feel about him, this is good for MMA. This is good for combat sports because you're using him as the canary in the coal mine. If this goes well, the executive at Netflix, there's actually something to this fight stuff. And then the UFC just comes trailing behind. They're looking for a TV right deal. Right now they're negotiating it. This can be the first test. You want this to go well. Even though it's ridiculous, right? You want this to go well because then the UFC can parlay off this and get a huge deal, and it's on Netflix. There's no one bigger in the game than Netflix. So this is a good thing. Jake Paul is taking one for the team here.
And what do you think, though?
Here's my question. This is what I want to know. Is it real? Meaning, is this like Roy Jones versus Mike? Because it could be a disaster. If it's like the no hit into the face, remember all that bullshit?
That'd be stupid.
If it's like a glorified sparring match, you're going to ruin it for us. Mm-hmm. If it's real, if this is real, and Jake Paul at 100%, Mike Tyson 100% at 56, wherever he is, Mike uses a cane to get around sometimes. Here's the thing. Jake should knock him out. Now, if Jake thought he had haters before, if you knock out the beloved Mike Tyson, my man, the hate meter is going to read red hot. I don't think he cares. And And remember, Jake got his start on Mike Tyson's card.
Yeah, the Roy Jones one, right?
Yes. So I just don't know how serious to take this. Regardless of whatever this is basically the Trojan horse. This is getting into the gates. It goes well. The UFC is going to follow behind. This is good. You want this to go well if you're an MMA fan. Not because you love Jake Paul, but because you love MMA. This is good because other fights, combat sports will follow. This is the trial. We want this to go well. The whole thing is like, is it a glorified sparring match?
They never said,
Because I know they're friendly.
They never said exhibition. It just says boxing, so it should. And plus, I mean, I don't know. Even though Jake's so much younger, like 30-something years younger, it's still like someone who's like there's a vet of boxing who's really, really good versus a guy that just started boxing. So I think they could commission it and sanction it.
They could sanction it. Yeah. I just have some questions about that. But again, you want this to go well. You want this to go well.
You think it's going to do big numbers, right? Tyson versus Jake Paul.
I think so.
Wow. Yeah. On Netflix, too.
Wow.
So I guess if you have a subscription, it's free?
Yeah. Wild.
Oh, really? It's not like a...
I imagine if you have Netflix subscription, so it's not free, but you're paying for Netflix, right. But I imagine you could just watch it on Netflix.
Oof, that would be huge.
Because when they did the Chris Rock live special, you could watch that live. You didn't have to pay extra for that.
Yeah,
So
I've never heard of Netflix.
I don't think they're on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
They just pay for the rights and hope people subscribe. That's where their money's at.
And dude.
That's a big boy.
That's a big boy.
You want that to go well for combat sports.
All right, Daniel, this one I feel is really going to be a bit trying for you. Now, this is good, bad, or absolutely sucks. I'm talking about Jake Paul, one of the top stars in boxing when it comes to box office draw, taking on the most feared combat athlete of all time, Iron Mike Tyson.
You know, Chael, it absolutely sucks. It absolutely sucks because while I love Iron Mike, while I want Mike to make as much money as he possibly can, Chael, that video right there is about 3 to 4 years old, right? Mike is a different person now. I saw Mike walk into the UFC last year with a walking stick. I mean, I don't know how they pull this off. Now, will they let Mike just hit him? If they let Mike go at this dude and Mike just tries to get him out of there in a few minutes, maybe it works, but I don't know that they risk it with Mike trying to go at Jake Paul in that way. I think it absolutely sucks. I think Mike Tyson's fighting days are over. I mean, he will be 58 years old by the time he steps in the ring with Jake Paul. Chael, to me, it absolutely sucks.
All right, Daniel, I thought I was the great Kreskin on this. I thought I'm the Perry Mason that's going to crack the code. It didn't matter if it was ESPN.com or if it was TMZ.com. I went to 5 different places that announced this, and none of them used the word box, and none of them used the word fight. That includes our.com. We said Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. TMZ said Jake Paul against Mike Tyson. A third one said Jake Paul signs for Mike Tyson. I'm only telling you, I thought I've solved this. They're getting ready to bring the great swerve. Them and maybe their partner Netflix, but something else is coming out. They've gotten our attention. So to test this theory, I went to Jake Paul and I said, right about your fight, I will take on George Masvidal if it's co-main and no lower. He writes me back, I'm in, call you in the morning. So, oh my God, this really is going to happen. He ends up getting back to me in about 5 minutes. He says, hey, just talk to Masvidal. He's under contract with somebody else. That I know nothing about, but I'm just sharing with you what I thought was going to be a swerve. I now think they're going to do, and I hate it.